Welcome back to a new episode of Get Real with Kacey Kasem. It's the podcast that goes behind the scenes of the fantasy football industry through interviews with some of your favorites in the business. In this latest episode, I was joined by Clay Moseley of Dynasty Trades in 5. We chatted about the similarities between redraft and Dynasty, his Washington Commanders fandom, thoughts on trading, always being an entrepreneur, going all in on Dynasty Trades in 5 and on himself, and a whole lot more. Make sure to give Clay a follow on Twitter at dpandemic_Clay. Give Dynasty Trades in 5 a follow at Trades in 5. Follow me on Twitter at the Kacey Kasem and the podcast at GetReal_pod. This podcast is a proud member of the DAP network. Let's get back to what we're here for, my conversation with Clay Moseley on Get Real with Kacey Kasem. Sounding like I'm having a casual conversation with you when I was just talking to you, but we're getting this down. It's a crazy day around here, and we've got Rangers baseball. That's my jam. They were winning when I came up here. I'm pausing it and I'm gonna watch it.
Nice. I won't say anything if I see something.
Yes, don't say anything. This is going to be an experience for me, and I'm ready to ride this roller coaster that's about to happen. Anyway, I do have a nice guest with me tonight, and pretty awesome stuff that you got going on. But Clay, first and foremost, how have you been today? How's your day been going so far?
Yeah, so you and I were talking pre-show a little bit. It was one of those days, kind of just like a blah day. It's like, what did I contribute to this world today? No, it was just a usual Monday, But hey, it's first world problems. See my kid getting off the bus at 4:08, throws his backpack at me, and then runs down the street with his kids. Life could be a lot worse. So
yeah,
not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you brought up you have a kid. Growing up yourself, were you into sports? Did you have football or any other sports that you watched?
Yeah.
What kind of teams were you into when you were younger?
Yeah, so I am a Washington Commanders fan, and I know you're a Cowboys fan.
Yes.
So yeah, I grew up right outside of DC, and my parents worked on Capitol Hill, and it was actually sweet because we had the hookup on local sports tickets, so we could go to the Caps games, and we're right near the ice. And then when it came to football, my dad knew one of the first down yardage marker guys, and he got us hooked up with field passes and got to go and meet Mark Rippon and Daryl Green. So I was obviously hooked as a kid, and yeah, I thought, hey, I'm always going to get all these free tickets, right? Yeah, I'm going to sit behind the dugout at all the Orioles games. No, but it was nice, those Capitol Hill perks before those were taken away.
That's awesome. I can't even imagine being a kid and getting that experience given to me like that. That's just really rad. And now, as you have been watching football more, has your allegiance changed over the years? Or are you still a Commanders fan? Yeah, okay. I was just asking because some people were like, "More team has been doing so." Dude, if everybody's team does, we're not going to get into it. A Cowboys fan, you already brought that up. I don't want to get myself all wound up. But so going to games, is there any game, football or baseball or anything that you remember seeing a play or a moment that sticks out? Is there anything you can remember, or even an experience you had while you were there?
I would say for me, it was when I was a little bit older. I was probably around, I don't know, 11 or 12 or something. And so my dad got the opportunity, or excuse me, the All-Star game was at Camden Yards in Baltimore, and we actually got tickets to go to the All-Star game. So that was an ultra cool thing for a kid. I was a big baseball player, and being able to go to that game, I think with my pops was an experience to remember. And there was lots of partying between then and where I am now. So that's the last one I remember too, Kacey. What do you know?
Love it. So how about fantasy football? How did you stumble across that?
I was late. I was late to the game. Honestly, I think I was in high school, or yeah, it was something like that. My buddy was playing in a redraft league, and yeah, I just decided to give it a go one season, and I was hooked within, I don't know, 4 hours once I realized what the heck it was. I didn't understand. understood the concept, but I was never on the platform, like seeing what it is to play fantasy football. I was immediately so hooked. But that was redraft. And then the dynasty disease. We can get into that later, but that's where that's where stuff escalated quickly.
I mean, I think that's how it goes for a lot of people. Like,
Yeah,
redraft is
redraft's
just
a
the
gateway
gateway
drug.
drug. Yep, exactly. Nobody knows
Yeah.
how important Dynasty is to you as a fantasy football owner of these teams. Like, if you
Right.
play a redraft, you just don't. When I try to explain or whatever, sometimes it's like, wait, you do that all year, and you
It's like,
keep
damn right.
and you traded and you do all of that. So, okay, but you do have a presence in the fantasy football space with all the work that you do and podcasting, YouTube, and all of that. How did you transition into putting out content, and how did you find out how to put out content?
Yeah, so I guess I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. Tried to start a business after college down in Wilmington, North Carolina. I went to UNCW. Tried to start a business after school. It was called barnerd.com. So we put live webcams up in bars. There was an online taxi sign up, and this was like pre-Uber. And I created a community basically where we were featuring like tattoo artists, musicians, you name it, basically just trying to create like a one-stop shop, a nightlife community.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know how to run a business. I ran out of money and the recession hit. It was like 2008. So yeah, decided to just get a regular job, I suppose. Worked in medical sales for 11 years up until the last like couple months, but basically I got into the fantasy space, got hooked on Dynasty thanks to none other than Shane Manila, my co-host on Dynasty Trades in 5. And I know you know Shane well.
Yeah, Shane.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, I got into Dynasty. I met Shane, joined his Patreon. We became tight. And I was like, hey, I kind of want to get into this space. I kind of want to get into Dynasty fantasy football business in some form or fashion. Who do I need to meet? And he said, you need to meet Scott Connor. I was like, okay. So joined Scott's Patreon, got into a league with him. I was just trolling his group me chat. And then one day he posted, hey, we've got this dispersal draft in this league that I commish. If you're interested, let me know. And I like jumped on it and I was like, hey, like I'll be a good manager. You know Shane, I know Shane, he's my dude. He can speak to the fact that I'm not a tool. Like, and he's like, all right, you're in. Long story short, I wanted to create yet another community. Dynasty Pandemic was the name of this one. So I wanted to create a community where you could go in there, chat right in the main part of the screen, kind of like a Dynasty Twitter, if you will. On the sides, post community content. Any content creators who want to put themselves up on the website, I'm more than happy to show it. Trade polls, just again, a community. It's definitely the theme with me. I guess that's what makes me happy. But yeah, so started Dynasty Trades in 5 with Shane and Scott. I talked them into doing a 5-minute trade show because I thought it would help to promote Dynasty Pandemic and they could promote their Patreons. And then people liked Dynasty Trades in 5. So it just changed from there.
Okay, so before we start talking more about your journey into the creation of fantasy football content, let's go back to Dynasty, because you did bring up Dynasty being this thing that kind of changed things for you and kind of got you into this mindset. So when you first started playing Dynasty, how did that come about? How did you navigate that new world from redraft to going into Dynasty?
Oh, I was so hooked. Honestly, I was like damn near manic for a second, honestly, with the amount of trading I was doing. It was bonkers. I would wake up every morning and my league mates, I would say, good morning, how are you? And I'd like be just trying to talk to the league mates and get trades done every single day, making horrible trades, but just so hooked on the adrenaline of Dynasty. So then, of course, when you are in one league, you end up being in another league, But then, yeah, you join 2 Patreons, and then everybody in those Patreon chats are starting up leagues. So I went from like 2, like 5 years ago or something, to where I'm at, like, I don't know, 18 to 20 now, something like that. But it went from 2 to 12. One season I was setting 2 lineups. The next season I was setting 12 lineups. I was like, whoa, what have I done to myself here?
I think we all have that journey, and some of
Yeah.
us go, okay, I'm cutting back, and some of us go, okay, I'm getting more, because it's addictive. Yes, it's addictive.
Yeah.
When you started playing Dynasty, well, actually, for people who haven't played Dynasty, let's
Mhm.
go there. What is something that you would suggest, or some sort of advice that you would give them when they're first starting out?
I would say don't be afraid of using trade calculators when you're first starting. Even in the startup, the calculators these days, you can type in like, "Hey, I'm trading this rounder for this rounder and getting this back," and it can kind of just help give you a baseline. Because in our home league, when it started, I remember the day very clearly. I was on my way to a work event and I see the sleeper message saying a trade has been completed. And this one guy in my league had traded Travis Kelsey to this other owner, got 3 firsts, 3 seconds, and gave away Kelsey and then the thirds and fourths from those years. And it was just this blockbuster, monumental trade that pissed this one guy off big time. And he wrote me this like in-depth, like impressive letter, honestly, talking about how it was a BS trade and it was going to ruin the league, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah. I
blah
should
blah
veto
blah.
it. Yeah. And obviously I didn't veto it. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because that was such a huge trade, and it was seen once it was thrown into a calculator as being so lopsided that it
Hmm.
jacked up the league market like right off the bat. And this guy who got all these picks, he ended up turning those picks into, Justin Jefferson. Like, just he hit on all of those picks that he got essentially. So yeah, I would say don't be afraid of trade calculators. They help you get like a little bit of a baseline. Don't yeah, because you don't want to trade away your picks and you have no idea what they're worth, and then you're starting from behind. So
Right. Yep. I start
yeah.
from behind my
Oh
first,
yeah.
it's like, oh
Sure,
no.
sure.
Because at the time I'm like, okay, this is my first like Dynasty league where I'm playing with people that actually play Dynasty, not like people who are first starting
Yeah.
out. And so of course I'm getting thrown in with all of these wolves, getting thrown to the wolves, and I'm making these trades because I'm like, ooh, trading. I didn't never
Yeah.
get this opportunity. And then it just like came back to bite me. And now, I've been rebuilding for like 3 or 4 years with just
Yes.
that league,
Yes.
if not more. So I totally get that. You had brought up veto as well. How do you feel about vetoing in leagues? What's your opinion on all of that?
So first off, I'm like the worst commissioner ever, ever. I'm like, I don't know why. I started all these listener leagues, and then it's like, yeah, but you can't just start them and like not do anything. You have to have commissioner duties and stuff. But I'm kind of as opposed to being like strict bylaw kind of guy, it's kind of a don't be an ass kind of situation when I'm a commissioner. It's like just
Yeah.
like the thing where it's like Scott, my co-host, he loves to play whatever angle it is to be able to win, and I appreciate that about Scott, and he does win. But things where it's like, oh, I don't need to set like this lineup, or I don't have to have an active player in this spot. I tend to just let things go with the flow, as long as you're not being a you know what. And any vetoes, sorry, not doing that. If it's two consenting adults, the trade went through, you had the option to hit decline. Um, However, there are some egregious ones, and we've seen them all, where it looks like
Hmm.
there's just some shadiness going on. In which case, let's drop the veto hammer. But no, no,
Yeah. I feel
we're
like
all grown boys and girls. We can do it.
exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I've done plenty of trades where it looks like I'm gonna win out, and then I look like a fool because in 2 years, like I have nothing to show for it. So
Exactly. And you never know what the trade is going to turn out to look like, you know.
right. And trading, I know that you were on with my boys in the Trade Addicts podcast a
Yeah,
few weeks back or whatever. And those are my homies over there, part of the DAP network.
you know it.
Here we are. So so talking about trading, I know that a lot of people who first start out in the dynasty space aren't
Mhm.
used to trading because in redraft it really doesn't happen a whole lot unless you're in a
Right.
really active league. What kind of advice do you have for people who are first starting out when they look at trading as scary or something that they just don't
Yeah.
really want to attempt to do it because they don't want to mess up?
Yeah, no, it is tough. I always recommend excuse me. There's always a couple people in the league who are like down to trade or at least down to talk about trading, right? So you've got somewhere to start, but I like starting with just a little trade to just get the juices flowing a little bit, even if it's a player for a second round or something, you know, not some massive trade where somebody's getting fleeced and then everybody's ultra spooked. You just do one of
Yeah.
those good old fashioned regular fair trades. I will trade you this player for a second rounder. Then everybody can kind of take a deep breath. You get the adrenaline, you know, pump from seeing a trade's been completed, or you and that other league mate who made the trade, you're all pumped up. So I just say maintaining the relationships with your league mates, and yeah, just trying to take it slowly and not make anybody look like a fool because it just ends up screwing up the whole league.
Indeed, it does. It really does. And being in a league, let's say you're in a league where you take over an orphan, and there's people
Hmm.
out there that don't know what that means. And some people think
Yeah.
if I'm getting started, maybe I need to go and pick up an orphan. And some people are like, I just want to start from scratch and have my own, building blocks right there.
Hmm.
When when you look into your lineup and you're like, okay, I'm taking over this orphan team. First, like let people know exactly what that means. But also
Yeah.
when you do that, how do you decide how to rebuild that team or make that team what thought process goes into
Yeah.
like that lineup?
Sure, sure. So yeah, an orphan is when a dynasty team that's in need of love
Yes.
is left an owner for whatever reason, whether it's, you know, financial or they're just tired of beating their head against the wall and they decide, hey, guys and gals, I'm gonna leave this league.
Yeah.
And then there is now an orphan available to be adopted. So orphan, when you pick up an orphan, that's always one of the most exciting times in the league, if you ask me, because they see this new manager come in, and then just like you said, when you were getting into dynasty and you were thrown to the wolves,
Yep.
everybody just like, you better like happen to be available at that part of the day, like, because there is going to be a trade barrage where
Oh
this
yeah.
new manager is just going to receive just dozens of trades, hopefully if it's a healthy league, trying to get their players. But when I take over an orphan, I think it's a blast because you look at it, you're like, you're hoping to see in Superflex at least that there is like a QB to work with. You hope to see just a couple valuable pieces, and you're like, all right, I'm going to make this my own. So typically, what people do is they'll just blow up an orphan and start from scratch. Look at as much as they can for whatever players they have, and then just make it your own. Some orphans are not as gross as others, and they're actually like almost playoff teams. So if you want to, I guess if somebody's first getting in Dynasty and they want to pick up an orphan, I feel like that's an okay way to do it. But if you pick up a bad one, you could be in for like a very rough introduction to Dynasty.
Definitely. Yeah, that sounds as you said it, I'm like, that sounds doesn't sound that
Y-
fun, It doesn't, at least not
No.
for a while.
Yeah, especially if you stink and the orphan already stinks.
Yeah.
So you're
You're
just
just like
doubling down,
sitting there
double
trying. And
whammy.
you're just yeah, you double whammy indeed. I'd be like, I'm done with Dynasty. When you when you look at redraft and you look at Dynasty, what is the biggest difference in the mindset you have to have in between the two, redraft and dynasty.
Yeah, they're actually becoming more and more alike every year. The dynasty window, building for a couple years, that's kind of out the window now. Everything is week to week. It's treated like redraft the way that people are playing these days. So it's actually not too different. I mean, people are trying to get the same players in redraft as they are in dynasty. Typically, you're like, oh, I like this, young stud wide receiver for dynasty, in 2-3 years he'll be good. But no, that's not the game anymore. It's what can you do for me right now? And if you're not producing for me right now, what pick can I trade you for to then go get a player who is doing something right now? So it's such an organic market right now with keep trade cut. You can go on that site and just the fluctuations with the ranks, it's all crowdsourced, and the fluctuations that you see on a daily and weekly basis with these players is incredible.
It is.
It basically mirrors redraft at this point. So got to find an edge.
I'm not really sure why I didn't even realize that. Yes, I'm seeing that too with the redraft and dynasty, and I'm like trying to trade certain players, like, oh, and then it's not working for me, and I'm like, why? This is dynasty. Why aren't they? But
Yeah.
I get it, and how you said it, they do. Players fluctuate so quickly, and
Mhm.
when I go in and look at the trade calculators, I'm like, wow, I looked at this 2 days ago, and it was like I was ahead, and now so it's just
Yeah.
like it's interesting to see how people's opinions on players change.
No
And
doubt.
you had brought up, using trade calculators and not being scared of that. And
Mhm.
I know that that's kind of a divide, not that it divides people, but I know that there's some people that are like, oh, trade calculators. And then, there's some people that like that's their bread and butter. Right. So, why do you think that dynasty, like, the trade calculators that are out there, we've already listed different ones, but
Mhm.
why do you think that people have an issue with people
I
using those?
I think it's more so just how well, first off, find out what calculator they're using.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And
okay,
use that to
because
your advantage too.
yeah, exactly. If they treat this like gospel, then yeah, okay, let's see. My side of the trade is a little in favor. Let me just tack on a bunch of thirds and stuff to make the scales even out. No, but I guess some people, like, I think back to league managers that I were dealing with who were so rigid when it came to trade calculators. It is kind of frustrating because you happen to like the player. Yes, you happen to like the player a lot that you're trying to get, and the trade calculator
Mhm.
just makes it look like you are absolutely fleecing that person, even though you're really not. So you're battling against another league mate who's a beginner who doesn't know a ton. You're a beginner who doesn't know a ton, and you've got this platform that's telling you
Yeah.
what the value. It's like all these
It's a lot.
competing variables.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just ends up being a hot mess. But no, calculators. I think. Yeah, I think the Dynasty nerds, they're getting theirs like built into Sleeper or something like that. I
Oh,
just thought, yeah,
that's pretty dope.
or
Something
yeah, it
like
might
that, right?
be, yeah, yeah, it might be like a pilot or something from the GM
It's
tool. But
pretty
yeah,
dope.
I think
Yeah.
they're here to stay and should be used, but wisely.
But wise. I mean, it gives you projected points in your apps that you use. So like that's kind of using so it's
Sure.
kind of similar. So are there any other resources? I know you're a big resource, so let's kind of plug some of your stuff for people that are interested in Dynasty. What do you have out there for people to take in?
Yeah, so there's different types. When we started Dynasty Trades in 5, right off the bat, we wanted to be true to ourselves. We're not like buy this player, sell this player. This player is skyrocketing up our rankings, like that kind of sensational type of content. The three of us already were very much like strategy focused players. Everything's about process, about how to properly build your roster, how to look at the scoring format in your league and be like, I don't know why I care so much about a running back when a running back is the last thing I want in this format. I want a slot receiver who catches a ton of balls. So it's really looking at the strategy and kind of the more of the setting stuff in the background and making decisions that are player agnostic. So that is really what our content is, and what our community that we've come to build appreciates, is it is how to get better at Dynasty, not like, hey, we can pick better players than the next show. There are tons of good content creators and YouTube channels and all that'll give you all the buy, sell, hold stuff that you could possibly want. That's just not going to be on our channel. It's going to be strategy and trades, and Shane.
And Shane, you can't forget Shane. Yeah, and Shane's been on this podcast, so go back and listen to Shane's episode. But talking to you about having shows that you put out and putting out the videos on YouTube, how did you decide, like, this is how we're going to do it, and what is the process behind you doing it for the first time, getting it out there?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience along the way. We actually just celebrated our 2-year anniversary earlier this month. We started the channel with a Miles Sanders 5-minute show 2 years ago, plus a couple weeks. But it was learning everything on the fly. Like, I had never even set up a YouTube channel, set up like the about me's and all this. How do I even upload a video? What is this title and description? Oh, I'm supposed to optimize that by having keywords and all. No, I was just putting in words like Dynasty Trades dash the player name, and then would have nothing in the description. My thumbnail was garbage. So literally just putting stuff up there, because I realized that, I guess I didn't realize how hooked I was going to get on it, and how I was just going to start just devouring content on YouTube about how to grow on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just got obsessed, right? Completely obsessed. So I learned, as I was just devouring this content, I was still like uploading and trying to optimize what I was putting out there. But then my 5-minute trade show went from being 5 minutes with Shane and Scott to being 3 hours every night. And a lot of
big
that,
jump.
yeah. And that's me being an amateur and all, but it's just, there's so much more into it than you think. The recording is the tiniest bit of the project. When it comes to, you press that publish button, you've worked for hours and hours and hours before hitting that button. And then after you hit it, you watch it and you're like, all right, on to the next one.
And you bringing up watching those YouTube videos, that kind of helped you learn how to grow. I listen to podcasts a lot, or at least I was binging them about how to grow your podcast, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm not the type of person that learns very much, so it's growing. Just not the way that those guys make you think. So don't ever feel like, oh man, nobody's listening to my podcast, nobody's watching my videos. Having that audience, having that community, like you brought up, community being so important. When you found the fantasy football community, how was that experience? How did you stumble across like all these minds that kind of think the same way you do, or at least like the same stuff you do?
Yeah, luckily I got my foot in the door with Scott and Shane, who are great people. I mean, that's a lot of the reason why the channel ended up being successful. Is I'd like to think I strategically picked a couple co-hosts who already had some influence. They happen to be good guys, and they know their stuff. So I was at least like introduced to the side of the fantasy community that I wanted to be on.
Right.
The Patreons and all from both of their podcasts, just so many sharp people in there, same interests. And I mean, every guy and girl in the fantasy football industry, it's the same person. It seems like we all have our like issues. We have like, our history of this and that, like with like mental health. We're all introverts. Like it just, you realize you just have a lot more of you out there who like to play this silly game called fantasy football. So
And
it was a home.
there are plenty of us. Yes. And okay, so podcasting, videos, when I listen to you guys, when I watch your videos and I can see you interacting and see the flow, and I can see how you keep things going, a nice flow, kind of, even with Shane, it is, he's still doing a great job wrangling Shane. But when you, like, for people who want to host a show or want to have multiple hosts on a show, how do you go about doing that? What kind of suggestions do you have for people who are like, okay, I want to do this? How do we interact together without stepping on each other's toes constantly?
Yeah, it's definitely a learning process, especially when we did less live streaming. We actually didn't do live streaming until I think it was like a year ago now, but we did everything was recorded content and I did all the editing. So you have Shane who has his ums and ahs, and he's a human, right?
Right.
We all do that, but I was such a perfectionist that I was in there like getting rid of all the so that's a recorded side. But yeah, when I'm hosting, it's just with Shane, you just have to go with feel. You have to just let him go when he's about to do his thing, because we also have a TikTok and Instagram where Shane is very valuable in terms of me being able to make funny content out of what he says. So it's just trying to, I'm basically, when it comes to YouTube, I'm an audience retention whore. So YouTube, if you want to grow on it, it's all about getting your viewers to make it all the way to the end. They start the video, they stick around, they make it to the end, because at the end you have another video that pops up on the screen saying, "Hey, watch me next," and you start this binge. And that's what
Mhm,
YouTube wants, right? YouTube
mhm,
wants everybody to stay on the platform. Okay. So if you can do that, if you have a thumbnail and a title that get them to click, and then they make it all the way through to the next one, they watch another. Sure, they may subscribe. That's great and all, but YouTube's like, hey, this content's pretty cool. So basically, when I'm hosting, I just try to make sure that there's not, like, when I get the sense that, ooh, this could be an audience retention dip spot. This is a trap spot where if I don't jump in and move the topic to this or move on to another question, this could be a bailout spot. So it's
mhm.
just picturing the graph in my head, my crazy
I love
and
it. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, just picturing that in my head and being like, "Up, here, we got a dip, we got a dip.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on." But people don't realize, like, audience retention wise, even if you have good content, you lose like 20 to 30% of the people right within the first 30 seconds. So yeah, once you
Yeah.
start seeing those graphs, you get very protective over your videos and your viewers.
I feel that. That's how I feel about the podcast. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to make my intros short and sweet so that we can get to
Right.
the point, because I don't want somebody clicking off of it. Come on, we put our hard work and our time into
Right.
this and our energy, and we're doing this for you guys because we love you so much. So, thumbnails you had brought up, and you said when you first
Hmm.
started doing them, they weren't anything to write home about. They weren't great.
To
Well,
say the
I
least.
see them now and they look pretty awesome. Like, they could catch your eye. They're right there. You know exactly what it's about. And do you make those still?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do, and I appreciate you saying that, but I still think our thumbnails are like a 6 out of 10 at best. They're actually tricky to do, but yeah, at first they were so garbage, and I was so worried about using player pictures because of copyright issues,
Hmm.
that the first bunch of them just had like, oh, they're so gross looking, but it was just like yellow text with the player's name, and then like Dynasty was in red and like just this ugly background. But I look around YouTube and everybody's using player pictures. It's not like everybody's paying for like
Yeah.
some license to be able to use them. So I was like, oh, start adding players into the thumbnails. What do you know? People click on it when there's a player on there. So
Crazy. Who would have thought? that
who
is,
who
that
would have
is,
thought?
yeah.
But I have a lot of fun with the thumbnails, especially the live stream ones. I wish I was a better graphic designer than I am. It's all in my head. I just can't open up Photoshop and be like, oh yeah, let me adjust this blurriness or let me crop this
Yeah.
little tiny portion of this. I do everything in Canva.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, yeah. I'm
Okay.
like, I've outgrown Canva, but at the same
Yeah.
time, Canva does enough, basically.
Uh, yeah, I don't know why I pay for the premium Canva, maybe because I make a new T-shirt every 2 or 3 months, but
Yeah,
I like it a lot. I get all I'm like, "Oh, look how cool. Oh, yeah, this, that, and the other." So I suggest Canva if you're especially if you're, like, first starting out and you don't, because it's pretty easy,
definitely.
and the basic stuff is even pretty easy, so
Yeah, and you can edit on it. Like, have you ever done like, do you do your audio editing and stuff on it, or is that just
no,
your graphics?
just my graphics.
Yeah. Yeah, because
So,
I do the video editing on there too
oh,
for the
really?
longest time. Yeah. And it's kind
Ah,
of clunky and like
yeah.
you're limited in what you can do, but you could run a YouTube channel on freaking Canva, which is just kind of
That's
wild.
that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Did not know that. Okay, okay. You have any other
Yeah.
tips or tricks for people who are like any tools you use to kind of get started or things that
So
you
TubeBuddy, Buddy is a good tool. It helps you with keyword searches and tips for optimizing your content for the algorithm and all. So TubeBuddy is one of them. VidIQ is the same kind of tool. But honestly, the best thing you can do is just keep making videos. You just keep making videos, you'll get better, you'll be more comfortable in front of the camera. You'll learn more from your audience in terms of what he or she wants. And you just go from there. I mean, we've posted 360, 370 videos on the channel at this point, I guess. The first 150 were trash. Like they were as far as what we'd say now, like they're trash comparatively. But just record, just put it out there. There is tons of competition though. I mean, I'll tell you what, like you have to find a niche or
yeah.
something unique, or you just have to work harder than everyone if you want to quote unquote make it, you
And
know.
yeah, working hard and finding that group of people. You brought up the community again. I'm bringing it up again because I love the
Hmm.
community. I'm not
Me too.
like sucking up to you guys and gals, but you guys are the bee's knees. I appreciate everything. So you do a lot of collaborations. Have people that you work
Hmm.
with from other fantasy football sites and organizations. How do you find people that you are going to work well with? Do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? How did you find all these interesting people to work with?
Yeah, so luckily with the success of Dynasty Trades in 5, our brand has like a little bit of juice behind it now, to where I don't have to sell us too much when I spam myself out to the big names in the industry, the podcasters like yourself, like, hey, I'll come on. Um, yeah, so that makes it easier. But yeah, essentially I reach out to people, say, hey, I'd love to collab with you. And yeah, I've managed to score some great guests on the show. I actually host Dynasty Different is what I call it. And I host it either on Wednesday or Friday nights. But I essentially it's just me, and I have a guest, a collaborator, kind of like what we're doing here. And yeah, I've had some great names, from like Izzy from Dynasty Trade Calculator. Yeah, obviously had Russ the other day. Nate List. Too many good names to ring them all off. But it's an honor, honestly, and it's so cool because I'm fans of all of these people. That's the best part. Is like somebody in the crowd the other day in a live stream or a while back was like, Clay's one of us. It's like, yes, I am.
Yep.
I happen to be sitting in between experts, but yeah, I'm basically just you guys, and that's what I am on my show on Fridays. I'm a fan of the person who I have on, and we just chat. We talk about Dynasty and content creation.
That's rad. That's super rad. And doing live streams and having been doing it for about a year or so, what have
Mhm.
you learned about the live streaming process?
Mm. It's so wild because, again, I said, like, I'm kind of an introvert, like, by nature. So to this day, I get nervous before live streams, and when I'm on camera, I'm so self-aware of being on camera.
Mhm.
Um, so it's still tricky, but there are benefits to it. Like when it comes to the post-production editing, there isn't any of it. I mean, you can go back in and edit stuff, but you have all the front end stuff that you get ready, like the thumbnail, description, all of that. But you set up the stream, you hit go live, then you end the show, and it auto stops it on YouTube, and there you go. So I don't have to go in and add a ton of graphics and pay an editor a bunch of money to trim down the stream into a 20-minute, like, cool, visually cool show. So I don't know. We love live streaming. We
Yeah.
love engaging with the community. That's literally the way if you want to succeed on YouTube, in my opinion. Just build a community and the rest will come. Like, I started doing these little TikToks and I guess YouTube Shorts too. But TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Short, it's Dynasty Trades in Hindsight. And I think I've finished 3 parts of it now, but essentially I go over one good thing I did when starting the channel and one bad thing I did. And that's just going to kind of be an ongoing series. But if you want to succeed on YouTube, whatever succeeding looks like for you, build a community. If you have somebody who comes onto your channel, they look at one of your videos and they post a comment on your videos, that's that's gold for you. So
Mhm.
not only do you answer that comment, you ask a question, you start a conversation, because then when the next person goes and sees your video, oh, people are chatting in the comments and they join, and
Yeah.
then that just builds and builds and builds, and you can have a monster behind the scenes.
I'm more likely to tune in when it's a live show because that,
Are you?
I kind of am, because it's more
Yeah.
fun, because everybody's interacting with the community, the people that are in the chat, and seeing that,
Right.
because it makes people feel really good to know that
Yes.
they can communicate with you and you're going to acknowledge that they said something, So I really like that. I used to go on the open bar way back in the day,
Mhm.
and that was the same kind of thing where you just kind of like, it's just more, it feels more comfortable. You're just kind of in that setting where once you get going,
Yeah.
it's comfortable. I mean, I freak out whenever I have to even do something that I'm just recording like this. I'm like, "Ugh, okay, I can do this. I can do
Yeah,
this.
right.
Breathe, breathe. Do you consume content from others? Do you listen to podcasts, or it doesn't even have to be fantasy football related? Are you a podcast kind of guy?
Yeah, yeah, and I got into a big music kick, after just that just devouring digital marketing content. I burned myself out on it, and that was maybe like 6 months ago or something. Then got into a big music kick, and that's a question I ask everybody who's on my show is, if I hop into your whip, what song do I hear? And basically it was just getting like a list from guests as to, what he or she likes, and then I'm going back to my old school hip hop, and I also got really into music. But yes, I do listen to podcasts, listen to a couple fantasy ones. We'll throw on an audiobook here and there, whether it's like Tim Ferriss, like 4 Hour Work Week, or yeah, I still listen to a lot of content creation stuff. I love, Casey, I don't know if you've ever seen this show, but Colin and Samir, they're on YouTube. They basically they have a show about the creator economy, and they
Okay.
host various guests and stuff too, and talk through the creator process and creator community, and it's fantastic. Colin and Samir. But I listen to pretty much everything.
No, I
I
feel
have to have some
you.
noise in the background though. Are
Me
you like that?
too. Oh
I
my gosh,
have to
yeah.
have
I'm at
something.
work, and I put podcast on, and maybe I don't catch everything. I have to go back and rewind and take notes while I'm doing my work. Right?
Yeah.
I listen to all kinds of podcasts. I've been on a all fantasy everything kick again lately. I hadn't watched or listened to that podcast in a while, and I'm like, let me get back into that, because I find podcasts that I like the way that they put their podcast out, the way that they communicate with each other, the
Mhm.
vibe of the show, and I just kind of binge listen to all of those and kind of try to
Yeah.
pick up tips and tricks. Have you learned anything over your years of putting out podcasts and videos? Have you learned, what are the things, the key things that you learned to from the beginning to where you are now?
Yeah, just again focusing on the community. Everything you do, it's okay, is this on brand? Is this what my community wants? But in terms of like a tangible thing that you can do, just cutting out intros completely. We start off our shows literally going right into a dynasty trade. The other live stream, I listen back to our live streams, because I then um take little timestamps and send it to my editor and say, hey, we should make a TikTok out of this section. But so I listened back to it, and the other day we didn't talk about anything other than Dynasty until the 53rd minute. And that's when we said hi to the crowd who had been in there for 53 minutes. So we take pride in that, but it's also like the data supports the fact that just get rid of the intro, just get right into the content. People know why they clicked on it. They clicked on the thumbnail and the title. They know what the content's going to be, so just get right into it.
I like that, because like I was saying earlier about trying to keep my intro short, and I was thinking,
Mhm.
well, maybe I can just have them introduce themselves at the beginning. And I was like, but they're going to talk about themselves. Whatever. I'm overthinking things, and the way you do it is so interesting. It's different than a lot of podcasts. I can't, no offense to the people who do it, but I'll listen to your 3-minute podcast intro song one time maybe, and then
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to it again. So,
Yeah. Yeah, or you hit
all
that
right.
30-second skip button time and
Yes.
time and time again until you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, they're talking about content. Okay, let me hit
Okay.
back twice."
And it sucks because I know that people, it's awesome to hear the creativity that goes behind some of that stuff. I know that everybody is different on what they prefer in their podcast listening. So I
Right.
prefer, right. I also, I don't have ads on the show, not for lack of trying, but more because, when I listen to podcasts, I'm not going to lie and say I don't skip ads. I mean, I do
Oh, for
sometimes.
sure.
For the most part, unless I'm like busy at work, like working, and then
Mhm.
there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
But but I've also found some cool products by actually listening to ads. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
It's not
Get
all
that
bad.
toothbrush or whatever. So, okay, so let's go back to the whole pandemic part of
Mhm.
everything. Is that because COVID came into the picture, or was pandemic before all of that?
That was I definitely used it. It was yeah, it was during COVID, and pandemic was obviously a buzzword, but I wanted to use it in a in a classy way, if that's even possible. There's
Classic.
wasn't at all trying to use
No,
that in my favor, but that name
no, no,
came
no.
to me, and yeah, it
Yeah.
was during the COVID period. I remember being at the Fantasy Football Expo, the first one that I had been to, exhibiting as Dynasty Pandemic, and we were all wearing masks. It was crazy.
So the expo, the fantasy football expo, we talk about
Mhm.
that a lot on this show just because it's such a awesome event where the community can come
Yes.
together again with that word, but it's a great word. It's a great community. How many years have you gone to the expo? And
Only twice. Yeah,
okay, and
only twice. I went 3 years ago and then this past year.
3 years ago and this past year. All right, all
Yeah.
right. And what was the experience like for you this last year that you were there? Or even the first time you went? What was that experience like?
The first time I went, it went as well as I thought it could have. I was, like, on point with, like, "Oh, I've got my booth looking good," you know? I've got the website is set up. I had an app, Dynasty Pandemic app. Everything is now dynastytradesand5.com, but, everything was looking good. I met, like, I, like, talked to Scott Fish for 20 minutes, and he was like, "Hey, maybe I'll, get involved with you at some point." So I was riding this high.
Mhm.
Uh, and then yeah, eventually Shane and Scott come into the mix because it's like I need to promote this Dynasty Pandemic thing now. But no, it was so awesome the first expo, and then this past one, it was honestly kind of bizarre. It was very cool, but it was kind of bizarre at the same time because it's like the first time that anybody knew who the hell I was.
Yeah.
I literally when I'm
Sorry.
yeah, what I'm reaching into or reaching out to people and brands and stuff, I always introduce myself as I'm Clay. I'm the guy in the middle of the
Mhm.
screen on our shows. And people will be like, I know who you are,
Right.
or they just like let me go with that. But yeah, it was yeah, walking around wearing our merch and stuff and having fans come up and say, "Oh, we love your show," and it's just again, it's awkward for me because I don't necessarily like that much attention, but it was so cool to see like fans, then also like, other podcasters and other YouTube content creators. Like I met Nate List there the first night, and I always dug his stuff and his content creation, his editing skills, talked to him. And then at the expo, we set up a collaboration for 3 days later on our channel. So just going out and just yeah, I was just ultra aggressive and trying to be just very personable, and I was shaking everybody's hand, just trying to kiss as many babies as I could at that expo to
Yeah.
get some collabs going.
Did see you making your rounds and Shane be like, "Where did he go?"
Yeah,
Also, where did Shane go? Like, I don't know. Where did he go? So, well, that was
it
2
was
years
so
ago for me, but
yeah,
Shane is
yeah.
a fun one
It
to
was
hang
a
out with in
blast
person.
though. He is so fun to hang out with in person. That was the second time I've seen him in person. The first time was at the initial expo. This was the first time I met Scott in person.
Oh,
And he and
really?
I, yeah, we had been
Okay.
doing the show like obviously on StreamYard for a couple of years, but first time meeting him in person. And yeah, we took this cool picture, like a selfie kind of right before the end. And Shane posted it saying, "This is Trades in 5." And it got like tons of likes and like impressions and stuff. And it's just a great picture of the three of us. And it's just like this natural shot of us.
That's dope. I like
Um,
that so much. That's so
yeah, yeah.
awesome. Was it meeting him in person for the first time? Was it awkward or was it cool or how or was it like normal? Like that's my homie right there. How was it?
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it absolutely was. You feel like you know them, but when you're actually standing around them, it's like, okay, well, like let's make sure you are cool. Like I know you in 1 hour and 30-minute timestamps. No, but it was great. We stayed in the same place and we were there for 2 days together. So we got really tight over those couple days.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, going to the expo and meeting people and just people I didn't even know existed and just finding them and finding their content and just being like and people that don't even put out content that are just there as fans of fantasy football. That's
Mhm.
rad to see. Des Bryant was rad to see as a Cowboys fan. I'm not so sure for a Commanders fan how you feel about that.
I met him. I met him. Yeah, yeah, I know. Threw up the X. No, that was cool. Did you say you met Des there?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, and that was cool. That was really cool. I was really hoping I was, like, scared that I wasn't gonna get this chance to because I was seeing so many people who had met him, but I didn't go to the flag football game, and, I was like, "Ah," but we went to his presentation,
The
that
personal corner.
Sunday, and
Mhm.
so I was like, "Okay." Afterwards, I'm like, "Yo, bro, I asked you a question. Can I please take a picture with you, please?" Oh my god, I freaked out, but he was
D
cool, so
did they took your question from the crowd?
Yeah, I don't even remember really what it was. I was just like, hi, you're Des Bryant. I am a Cowboys fan," because there's like a Giants fan in front of me or something and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it was something about, getting us, the content creators, kind of like they were saying that they were focusing on us and they wanted us to help them out and kind of be a way of spreading the word and all of that. So I just kind
Right.
of wanted to know about like because they've said that they like input from other, from people as well. So I just kind of wanted to get, the content creators a little bit of, hey, we
Yeah.
really can help you out if you need help with whatever you need help with. So I'm trying to, he
Yeah.
saw it. He saw what why he was there. He saw how the community was and how many people were there for fantasy football.
I made a sweet promo video that I never got a response from him. No, the whole purpose was to make a yeah, personal corner, how he said he wanted to work with content creators and stuff. I basically recorded footage at the expo and created this like promo like pitch video like, "Hey Des, you should work with Dynasty Trades in 5."
Hey,
And
hey,
that's what I
hey.
said when I took the picture with him too, and he didn't respond to the video. The video's pretty sweet though. Either way, it was fun to make.
Well, I mean, the video sounds dope. I don't know if I saw it or not. I'm a bad human
It was
being
like
sometimes,
it
but
was like just like a 40-second like
okay.
fun video and yeah, crickets, but it's all good.
It's
It's all
all good. It's all good.
it was
So,
fun.
I mean, it happens, and but it is cool that you were talking about people coming up to you at the
Mhm.
expo and saying they're fans of what you put out. They saw the
Yeah.
merch, all of that. So I know that feels really cool to have those people give you that kind of praise and
Mhm.
getting an experience like that. I had people last year who were like, people are coming up to me and they're saying my name. Like I said your name last year,
Yeah,
like they know
yeah.
who I am. So yeah, like really, how does it, I know you've been praising the people who pay
Mhm.
attention to all and are a part of your community, but how important, I mean, what does it mean to you? This is your chance to really tell those people how much they mean to you.
Yeah, no,
you know?
no, a ton, honestly, because when we did our first super stream, we did a 5-hour live stream, I guess, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. But this guy in the crowd from like Fantasy Life Football or something, and I used to remember the exact timestamp. It was like 4 hours and 11 minutes in. But the question was, something along the lines of tips for content creation, and I started talking about the channel, and I like started getting emotional.
Yeah,
And I was
feel
like,
that.
I honestly get emotional when I talk about this channel, and I think about the community and everybody who
Yeah.
supports us. So for me, it was meeting a couple of those people, in real life, and being able to see it, and people saying, "Oh yeah, your content's awesome." But I only it's not like a billion people are coming up to us, that's for sure. Maybe when I was next to Shane and we were all wearing our gear. I also happen to be like 6'6", so I kind of stick out. But
You do. You
yeah.
are. I was surprised at how tall you were when I saw you in person. I'm like, whoa, hi.
So milk chugging champion for my whole life. No, but yeah, no, that was cool. But at the same time, like, who is it? Toronto Dave is the man. He's the
Yeah.
absolute man. And he was like, you guys are like my heroes. And I was like, Dave, I was like, I love you, Dave, but no mas, no more. You can't tell me how much you love me anymore.
Yeah.
You're the man. I appreciate you too. Like,
Yeah. It's like so sweet and so nice when people will come and recognize your
mhm.
work. And then it's also kind of like, oh, my face is turning red. I'm blushing. It's like
Yeah.
and the emotions, like you said, getting emotional over that stuff. It's like when I'm in therapy and I'm talking to my therapist about my
Mhm.
podcast and I'm getting like so emotional about it. Like
Yeah.
I love being able to talk to people and help people and all of that stuff, like blah, blah, blah. But she's
Right.
like, but she's listening. Maybe it's because she gets paid to listen, but she's like, yeah, podcast, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, we're getting close to the end, but not too close. We're getting there. We're almost there. But I wanted to bring up before I forgot about the whole. You had posted something back in July. Was it July? July about making a bold decision and all of that.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you? What was the bold decision you made, and how did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, so I had been, like I said, in medical sales for a bunch of years, and for I guess after I started the YouTube channel, I just became more and more complacent in that industry. People hear, the glitz and glam or whatever about medical equipment sales, and a lot of it is true. Like, you do well, you have like benefits, but yeah, I just was not in there in my head. And here I am in the operating room, and I'm thinking about a YouTube channel, not what I'm in there selling that day. So I was just getting complacent. It was 11 years in the same job. It's going fine. It's great for the fam and stuff like that. But my passion and all is in digital marketing, content creation, building community, things like that. So I was like, you know what? This is a good time with the channel. We're not exactly raking it in. We have a Patreon and stuff, but making some income from the channel. And I'm just gonna I've got some savings. I'm gonna do some start my own side media company and just freaking go for it. Um, and yeah, I mean, here I am, like a couple months later. Stuff is going okay, but it definitely is scary. It's not the top line income that I had previously. So it's like, do I have to get another job? And the answer is yes, but it doesn't have to be in med sales anymore.
There
I
you go.
That's what's cool is now I've realized when I've been doing like a couple gigs on Upwork and stuff, like I have talents now in digital marketing and being able to create YouTube channels and grow TikToks and stuff. So thank goodness for that.
That is so cool, though, that you were able to use that knowledge that you've gained to give you all those avenues now. And
Yeah, there's a market for it. So I realized, like, could I get back into like a sales gig like that? And yes, I could, and then just do this at night. But ultimately, like I said, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I just want to work for myself and work with people. I don't want anybody to ever work for me. If I'm paying if I'm paying for the health insurance and stuff, and you're getting a W-2 from me, maybe you work for me. But other than that, no, I don't take myself seriously enough. I'd rather just work with people.
no, I get that. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So, what do you do in your free time? It sounds like you have a
Hmm.
lot going on, a lot of obviously fun
Hmm.
stuff going on, but also a lot of stuff going on. What do you do in your free time when you have that time to just
What's free
chill and do
time?
something?
What's free time,
I
Casey?
know. But I'm trying to see, like, there's got to be like 30 seconds out of a day. No, I was kidding. But
Yeah. No, I used to play more golf before I had kids. So I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, two boys. They definitely occupy any hours that they're awake, they're occupying my time. But no, they're awesome. But if it's just me, if it's in the morning, I love to I love to work on the lawn. I love to mow the lawn. I love to do like gardening type stuff. Sweat it out a bunch. I like that. And then I like what else? What else? I like driving around, Casey.
okay.
I wish gas were free, but I just like driving around and listening to music. I've always been like that. Take the long way home or whatever.
Yeah.
There's this one spot that's like it's a good 30 minutes away from my house, but once you get up there and you get into like the little side roads and stuff, it's my Zen drive. And I used to call it my Dynasty drive. It's where I would like it was when I was really hooked. I would be driving around and I'm thinking of trades that I'm going to send when I get off the road. But
Oh, I
I
love
just,
that. Dynasty Drive.
my Dynasty drive. So, yeah.
Well, I get that. I used to just drive to clear my mind, like
Hmm.
just whenever there's just too much going on or whatever, just go out somewhere where it's pretty and yeah, take it all in. So
You know it.
I have a few. I did this last week with Trash Sandwiches. Ariel, I had her on, and I haven't put that episode out yet, but I need to. But on that episode, I had gone over the fact that I asked ChatGPT to just give me 5 random questions for a podcast guest that would be interesting and fun, right?
Nice.
Um, and so I did that again today, if I can find it. But yeah, so do you mind answering 5 questions that Chat
Let's do
GPT
it.
wants to know? We're helping out the AI of the world, but here we
Let's
go.
do it.
Okay, so if you could switch lives with any fictional character for one day, who would it be and why?
With any fictional character. What fictional character could time travel? What fictional character? My ultimate
You're
thing, like
sweating. Yeah,
you have one wish.
yeah.
My wish is for a pause button. Not even a go back in time, but a pause button. So I'm
Oh,
trying to think of what fictional character could freeze time. Anything come to mind for you? Is there some kind of superhero
no, because
shoot
all I
ice
can
on
think of is Back to the Future,
everything?
and I can't get that out of my head. So I'm like, or Zach Morris just calling time out. But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what fictional character it would be. But basically, just to be able to control time and be able to press pause.
dope.
That's what I want as my superpower.
If you could eliminate one thing from your daily routine, what would
Hmm.
it be and why?
I could eliminate it from my daily routine. What would it be and why?
Yeah, because I definitely don't want to sit in traffic. I would definitely take that out of my daily routine. So if I could just get to work without having to drive, it'd be pretty dope.
It's it's tough. Yeah, that would be good if I could get rid of one thing. I don't know. I mean, because the things that I want to get rid of are like parental responsibility things.
Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
guys can take care of yourself, but I'm still here. But like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here.
I guess it would be. I guess it would be. As opposed to removing something, it would be focusing on being more present in certain
Oh,
times.
okay.
So being more present, like in the mornings with the kids before they go to school, or when my kid gets off the bus, or when I'm building magna tiles and marble runs with them, which I like to do. I'm basically like a big kid, just making sure I'm present in those moments.
Rad. That's a good one, actually. I don't know if I could think of anything really, really that, besides the
It's tough.
driving and traffic thing.
Yeah.
And I only have to go like 10 minutes down the road, so it's not like traffic's bad,
Oh,
but I
come
always
on.
leave the house late. So I'm like, oh my God, I get to get to work on time. Okay, so what is the weirdest or most unusual talent that you have that people might not know about, or something that, kind of shocking that people might not know about?
Weird or unusual talent.
Anything? I know this is kind of hard because I mean, I rap, but that's
Yeah, yeah.
No.
That's the best part of your Twitter bio.
That I'm a
Is that you're a freestyle rapper?
rapper. Party tricks.
Um, I th- I mean, when I was a kid, I used to be able to like, belch the ABCs and stuff like
Oh,
that. I don't know if I still can. I'm trying to think if there's anything cool that I can do. What do you
Dynasty.
do that's cool and that people may
That's
not
what I'm
know?
saying. I couldn't really think either. The only thing I could think of was like rapping. I don't know. I've gone to Italy. That's cool. I don't know. Do you have an experience or something that you've done or like something out of the blue that happened to you that you weren't expecting?
Oh, I jumped off of a chairlift at a ski hill. Let's talk
Oh,
about that. Yeah, so
okay.
I was learning how to ski and I got on the wrong chairlift line from my sister and mom, and I thought the lift that I got on was going all the way up to the top of the mountain and that I was going to have to take a black diamond down the hill. So I'm there on my own on that chairlift.
Oh man.
I wait till there's a decent time to jump, and then I just jumped off that chairlift, landed next to a half pipe, ski flew off, went into the half pipe, down the hill. I was a hot mess, cut myself on all this ice and whatnot. But yeah, so that's something you didn't know about me. I jumped off a chairlift like on purpose.
On purpose. Clay's over here just being a stunt man. That's crazy. There's your new line of work, honestly. If you want to
Oh,
just become a stunt man for like a ski movie, that sounds pretty dope.
there
If
were easy slopes to get down, or I could have just ridden it back down. But nope,
you
I'm
live and you
jumping.
learn. We've all been there, right? Sure, sure. Okay, do you have a strange food combination or anything that you like? Or is there something maybe people
Mm.
would be like, oh, you like really spicy food or you like really sour stuff?
I do like really spicy food, but I would say when you started saying that, I immediately think about the fact that I'm just very brand loyal. Like
Oh,
Kraft mayo, please get this Hellman's out of my face.
got you.
Uh, Sour
Yep.
Patch Kids. What are these Sour Jacks or these cheese nips? It's Cheez Its. Just very stickler for that.
So my wife is when she's like, "Your fancy ketchup, get out of here with your house-made fancy ketchup or whatever." When we go out, it's like I can tell the difference. So I
Yeah,
get you
so I
on
think
that.
that's it. I think that's it for me as being very brand loyal.
Well, ChatGPT did know that you like Dynasty Trades, so they wanted to know: is there a trade that you can remember that sticks out to you as a memorable trade, whether that's a bad trade or a good trade?
Yeah, lots for sure. The one that I used with Russ the other day on Trade Addicts is, and yeah, Henry Ruggs. It's tough to even get into that, but I traded AJ Brown for Henry Ruggs and what ended up being like the 107 first round pick or something, and I just feel like a donkey to this day for that one. But a good trade was I traded, what was it? Kareem Hunt, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and a first, and I got Patrick Mahomes, which was
Oh, okay.
a wild trade. Maybe it was two firsts, Kareem Hunt and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and got Patrick
Okay.
Mahomes. That's probably my best one to date.
I like
To
that.
redeem myself in
So
the
you had
same
to,
league.
right? I mean, you have to. And if it was the same league, even better. Yes, even better
Yes.
because you can always right the wrongs. Like my
Exactly.
Sammy Watkins for however many first round picks I gave up to get Sammy Watkins before.
Ugh.
Yeah, so we all have those that we want to forget, and then the ones that are really awesome. We're like, yay! Like I can
Yeah.
pull the wool over Russ's. I'm in a trade addicts league with Russ, so I'm like always
Nice.
trying to like, you like T Higgins, right? Let's go and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
Calvin, he always loves Calvin Ridley till the day
Yeah,
he dies,
till the
probably.
day he dies. So yeah, get to know your league mates. Anyway,
Right.
well, Clay, I'm so happy that you could come join me for this
Oh, this is
podcast.
awesome.
It's been a long time coming. I moved it because of the Cowboys game, and I was like, they're gonna lose, and they ended up winning. But then I was like, oh crap, there is a Rangers game on tonight because they made it to Game 7. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna go down there after that. But this has been the highlight of my day, and that can just be the
Oh,
cherry
thanks,
on
Kacey.
top if they win. But I appreciate you so much for coming on. Can you go ahead and just let everybody know where they can find all your content?
Yeah, no, thanks so much. This is like a bucket list thing for me too. Honestly, I'd followed you before I met you. Yeah, Dynasty Trades in 5. Just find us on YouTube, on the YouTube machine. We're also on TikTok and Instagram, Dynasty Trades in 5 as well. We post daily reels and whatnot over there. But that's one thing we are consistent. You can find us on Tuesdays live streaming at 8:30 to 10:30 almost every damn Tuesday. We have like 400 people who hang out with us every single time, and it's so cool. It's so cool. So find us there.
Love it. And I am not consistent. So if you guys and gals are looking for some consistency and you're really, really looking for some consistency, go check out Dynasty Trades in 5 because seriously, they have a lot of fun and you can tell that they're just, they're like you and me. We're just having a good time hanging out.
Right.
And I can't wait to come visit the chat. I'll be in there sometime. So you guys come hang out.
Yes.
But thank you again, Clay, for coming. I appreciate it so much.
No, this was a great time, Casey.
All right, everyone, make sure that you come back next week for another episode of Get Real with Kacey Kasem, and remember to stay rad.
Get real. Time to get real, everybody.